All right, guys, so here's the biggest misconception about proteins that you need to know. And it's a common misconception a lot of people have is that when you eat protein, that you get the same amount of protein as listed on the package of whatever food you're eating. So, as an example, 100 grams of chicken breast is equal to about 20 grams of protein. But the truth is, you're not getting protein, that amount of protein doesn't translate over to 20 grams of protein for your body. Because what you have to realize about with protein, it comes down to the amino acid utilization. In other words, protein, when it's ingested in the body, the protein is like the shell of a nut. So what the body needs is not the shell; it needs the nut inside. That's the amino acids. That's what it uses to formulate or build protein molecules within your body. So here's the thing. We talk about amino acid utilization and net amino acid utilization. They're two different things, and this is why you'll get sometimes conflicting percentages about how much amino acid is being absorbed from a certain food. So let's use an example. One example would be eggs. So eggs, when you eat an egg, you get about 48% of its amino acid utilization. An egg has a complete amino acid profile. Okay, that means you get all 9 essential amino acids that are needed to build protein. However, presence doesn't equal proportion. In other words, just because all amino acids are present doesn't mean they're all in the same proportion to make a protein molecule for your body. So what that means is that any extra or whatever protein is limited, all the other proteins are limited by it. Okay? So if it's high in leucine but a little low in methionine, it can only make as much as the limiting amino acid, which is the methionine. So a simple illustration would be if, for example, if I gave you 2 handlebars, if I gave you 4 pedals, if I gave you 2 frames, 2 seats, how many bikes can you make? And let's say I gave you only 2 tires with that. How many bikes can you make? You can only make one bike. Why? Because you don't have the 4 tires to make 2. So even though you have 2 frames, you have 2 handlebars, you have 2 seats, you got 4 pedals, you're missing the other tires to build the second bike. And that's what happens to the body when it absorbs amino acids that aren't in the correct proportion. You're going to be limited by the limiting amino acid. So those are 2 different things: amino acid utilization and net amino acid utilization. There's a difference. So people say if you eat an egg, you get 98% of the amino acids which form protein molecules. But what that simply means is you get 98% of the 48% of amino acids that were absorbed. So you don't want to be duped or thinking that simply eating those foods is going to supply you all the amino acids your body needs in the right proportion to make the protein that your body needs. You're not. You have to understand the difference between amino acid utilization and net amino acid utilization. So as I was saying, for those of you who are just joining us, it's important to recognize the difference, because this is an epidemic, especially if you live in North America, is that food is not as nutritious as it used to be. So I'll give you one example. Back in 1950, they did a test on a bowl of spinach. And they found that the nutrient content in one bowl of spinach in 1950 that our parents would have been eating, to equal the same nutrients, you would have to eat several bowls of spinach today. And it has to do with modern farming practices where they use nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium to force food out of the ground so they can grow lots of food. You can get way more food out of a field today than you could 50 years ago, but it's missing up to 20 to 70% of key nutrients that your body needs. And so this is why, despite the fact that you eat, even if you eat whole foods, organic foods, your body is missing key nutrients. You're missing nutrients that your body needs. And the only way to get these is you can do juicing, which helps to concentrate those nutrients, because you can drink more vegetables and fruits than you can eat. Okay, so the nutritional content is tripled and quadrupled many times. Like, try eating a 5-pound bag of carrots. You couldn't do it, but you could definitely drink 5 pounds of carrots, and you almost need to do that now. In fact, a lot of holistic health practitioners like myself recognize and even suggest that sometimes you have to double or even triple up on vitamins because we're so deficient in nutrition. Okay, so but today we're talking about some misconceptions about protein, and here's the truth. When you eat, so the easiest way they do it is they say you take 100 grams of any meat, okay, whether that's chicken or fish or beef. And usually out of 100 grams, you're going to get somewhere about 20 grams of protein, okay? But when you eat that, that doesn't translate 20 grams of protein over for the body. You have to look at the amino acid utilization. For meat, the amount of protein that your body is able to use is about 32%. That means the other 68% is waste. It's converted into urea, ammonia, and creatinine. Okay, those are waste products your body can't use. They're toxic to your kidneys and to your liver in high amounts. So this is why people like on kidney dialysis or who have kidney disease are told not to eat high protein diets. It's not the protein itself, it's the waste product that comes from the protein. But you have to understand it's amino acid utilization is what you're looking for. So as an example, people say, oh, well, eat an egg, you get 98% of its amino acid utilization. That's true, but that's the net amino acid utilization. So what does that mean? Eggs, when you eat an egg, you only get 48%, a little less than half of the amino acids that make up protein for your body when you eat an egg. Now, of that 48%, 98% of it is used by your body. You see the difference? So you only get a little less than half from the egg, all 9 essential amino acids you get to build protein. And then of that less than 50%, net amino acid utilization refers to how much of that 48% is used by your body. So it looks like when you eat an egg, you're getting tons and tons of protein. You're not. It's the most that you get from food. So if you want to eat eggs, and you got to eat it with the yolk, you can't eat just the white of the eggs. Otherwise, you reduce your amino acid utilization down to about 17%. So that yolk is important. If you eat eggs, you got to eat it with the yolk. And then that's going to increase the amount of amino acid utilization, which is about 48% when you eat an egg. So understanding that is going to help you, because this is why, like, when people, for example, they how many out there have had like a protein shake? In fact, just, do you have a favorite protein shake that you like? You know, some people like whey isolate protein. Some people do pea powder proteins, plant-based. I know there are different brands out there like Orgain. Maybe list in the chat just what are some of your favorites that you like, and I'll tell you about how much amino acid utilization you get from that. So just put it in the chat there. If you use a plant-based, or if you use a whey isolate, or another protein shake like that. And maybe some of you who are vegan or plant-based, you may not like the answer to this, but even like with your plant-based proteins, you get somewhere in the neighborhood of about 15% amino acid utilization. That means the rest is converted to a byproduct, a waste that your kidneys have to filter out. Same way with whey isolates. And so when you're looking for protein for the body, you have to look for almost a pure amino acid source. So where can you get those? Well, there's an enzyme that you want to look to see if you have in your protein shake that helps to convert that to the amino acids. So it basically does what your body does before you put it in your body, okay? Which is great, because as we mentioned, when you eat protein, the body has to break that protein down, okay? It can't assimilate it right away. As I mentioned, it's like a nut or a shell over a nut. When you eat nuts, you don't eat the shell, like walnuts or pecans. You got to crack the shell open, and then you access the nut on the inside, right? So that's like a protein. The protein is like the outer shell. The body has to crack it open, and it's trying to access the amino acids. Okay, all 9 essential amino acids that you need to build protein. Now, once it accesses that nut, the amino acids, now it can formulate a protein molecule that can be used to help build muscle, collagen, whatever is needed in your body at that time, okay? So, but again, you have to understand that presence doesn't equal proportion. So this is why when you eat an egg, you only get 48% of amino acids. Yes, it's a complete amino acid profile, meaning it has all 9 essential amino acids, but not all 9 essential amino acids appear in the correct proportions, okay? So if it's high in leucine, but let's say methionine is down here, you can only build enough amino acids to meet the methionine, okay? So methionine becomes what's called your limiting amino acid, okay? So as I mentioned earlier, it's like building a bike. Let's say if I gave you 2 handlebars, I gave you 2 seats, 4 pedals, 2 frames, but only 2 tires. How many bikes can you build? Only one. Even though you got the other handlebar, you got the other seat, you got the other frame, you got the other pedals for that bike, you don't have the other 2 tires. See, if I gave you 2 tires, you can only build 1 bike. You would need 4 tires to build 2 bikes. See? So the tires become a limiting factor for how many bikes you can build. Even though you got all the parts there to make a bike, you don't have enough of a certain part to make 2 bikes. And this is what happens with protein when you ingest it. It can have a complete amino acid profile, but if it's not in the right proportions, you won't build that many. You won't be able to build that many proteins. And so that's a misconception that people have about protein. It's not. A protein doesn't equal. It's not across the board. You don't get one gram of protein for 1 gram of protein eaten. You see, it's going to be limited by the amino acid utilization and the net amino acid utilization, which takes into consideration what's been lost after you absorb these amino acids into your body. So it's very important to understand that. So as I was mentioning, if you look for, there's proteolytic proteins that they have. Well, proteolytic refers to the enzymes actually that can be in a shake. Like for example, bromelain is a type of peptide, and it falls under that proteolytic enzyme. But you have others like protease. So protease actually acts just like, it's an enzyme that acts like scissors. So when you ingest protein, what it does, it snips the protein into its peptides, and then those peptides are snipped further down into your amino acids. Okay, and so there are some shakes that they have that you could take, protein shakes that are out there. They're very high in protease, and these will actually convert most of the shake to almost pure amino acids. And so what that does is, if you have kidney disease, or and just to mention, so that we're legal here, I'm not here trying to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Okay, this is for entertainment purposes only. But as I'll mention here, people, if you have kidney disease, you do want to avoid, at least I would avoid eating a lot of protein. That's what the medical field does say. People with compromised kidney have to be aware of their protein intake, how much protein they take in. But I'll tell you, if you're taking in amino acids, that's not going to create the same issues, because the amino acids is already in the broken down form. You don't have, so you know what the waste products are, right? When you eat protein, they're toxic to the body: ammonia, urea, and creatinine. So those are the waste products that are created when you eat protein, and in high amounts. Ammonia is toxic to the body. Urea is a little less toxic, but it is still it's a waste product. It's toxic, and it has to be expelled from the body. And the two things that do that is your liver and your kidneys. And so if you're eating a lot of protein, guess what? Especially from meats and things of this sort, it's creating a lot of waste product. And it's very hard on your kidneys and on your liver. And it wouldn't be so bad if, for example, that was the only thing that our kidneys and liver have to detox, but it's not. From the moment you woke up this morning, you probably have already ingested hundreds, if not thousands, of chemicals. Because think about it. You brushed your teeth. What'd you brush your teeth with? If you use commercially produced toothpaste, the sublingual glands under your tongue allow things to absorb directly into your bloodstream. So all those chemicals you put in your mouth, guess what? They're going under your tongue. That's a direct route right into your bloodstream. And you ingested hundreds of chemicals from just your toothpaste. If you bathe today, hopefully we took showers, but if you bathe today, if you use commercially produced soap, guess what? Your skin is the largest organ on your body. You absorbed tons of chemicals from those soaps if they weren't made from natural things, or if you're buying just the commercial stuff on the shelf. If you ate off of your plate, if you had breakfast this morning, what'd you wash your dishes with? Did you wash it with Dawn dish soaping or dish soap, or did you put it in the dishwasher with those dishwasher pods that have quaternary compounds that destroy your microbiome in your gut? Yeah, you can't even rinse that stuff off. It stays on your plates. And so you've been eating off of that, and you've been ingesting that, and you wonder why you have inflammation in your gut, or your microbiome is out of whack. You're not absorbing nutrients like you should. These are all things that are happening to us. If we use deodorant, guess what? If it's aluminum in there and the other stuff they put in there, that blocks your lymphatic system. We live in a toxic world, and so you got all these toxins that your liver is trying to detox daily, that your kidneys are trying to filter out. And you wonder why, when we eat protein or other foods that should be good for us, why we're still having issues. And it's because we're constantly compromised. We're constantly assaulted every day from chemicals that we encounter. We live in a toxic world. And then that's not to mention about the food that you ate. Where was it produced? Even if you ate whole foods and plant-based foods, you still have herbicides, pesticides that were used to control pests or weeds or what have you. And if you say, well, I eat organic, well, guess what? If that organic farm is next to a farm that sprays, you think that the wind's not going to carry that over into your organic food? It is. And a lot of times with organic, it just simply means they're using a different type of pesticide that some regulations say, yeah, well, this is safer, it's okay, we'll call this organic if you use this type. It's still a pesticide, it's still a toxin, it's still toxic to the human body. And so we have to figure out a way to eat food that's going to allow our bodies to detox and that's going to help us to stay healthy. And this is where juicing can come in. But also, and I'll talk about this later on a live next time, 5 foods that I know many of us aren't eating. Well, I eat them now, but many of you may not be eating. 5 foods that we all should be eating that we don't get in the North American diet. It's an epidemic. This is why the Western diet has been, a lot of people understand that diet is very unhealthful, okay? And a lot of it has to do, again, with the type of foods that we eat. It's the modern day farming practices, the use of herbicides, pesticides. On our clothes, they use Scotch Guard, Fire Guard, there's Teflon used in a lot of, all these are things that get absorbed into our bodies, and they wreak havoc, okay? And they affect our ability to absorb nutrients. And when your body has toxins like that and it's overwhelmed by toxins, what the body is doing many times is taking those poisons and storing them in your fat cells. And then this is why it's so hard to lose weight, because even if you intermittent fast, and I personally would never recommend doing that. If you live in North America, I would never recommend you intermittent fasting. That's probably the worst thing you could do, which is simply calorie restriction, okay? But the reason being is because we're already nutrient deficient. If you live in North America, it's just because of the nature of how they grow our food and the chemicals they put in our food. You're already nutritionally deficient. What do you think happens to the body when you don't give it the nutrients that it needs? People say, well, you got to make sure you eat enough calories. You think your body knows what a calorie is? What is a calorie? That's the amount it heats to fully combust a food. Okay, it's the amount of heat that's generated from a fully combusted food that raised the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. Now, how does that translate to your body? Your body isn't a furnace. It doesn't burn food, it oxidizes food. It's a chemical process. Okay, it doesn't completely burn. It doesn't burn food. There's no burning in the process. So how do you translate a calorie over to a calorie for your body? Your body doesn't know what a calorie is. All it understands is nutrition. And this is why people continue to eat, because we're nutritionally deficient. The body keeps signaling, the brain produces a hormone that's called a hunger hormone called ghrelin. And ghrelin is what makes you hungry. And so when you eat, if you give your body the nutrients that it needs, guess what? Leptin, which is the other hormone, kicks in and says, okay, boys, shut it down. We don't need to eat anymore. We're satisfied. We got what we need. But now, if you're eating food that's already nutritionally deficient, and then you go on a calorie restricted diet or you intermittent fast, what are you doing to your body? The only thing you're doing is stressing it out, because it already doesn't have the nutrients that it needs, because we already said food grown in North America is nutritionally deficient because they don't crop rotate like they used to in the past. They never allowed the ground to lay fallow to be able to rejuvenate the power in the soil. It's a whole microbiome that's going on in the soil. It should be living soil. And those herbicides and pesticides that they use actually destroy those microorganisms that produce the trace elements that are uptaked into the plants. Do you realize we miss about 20 to 70% of key nutrients in the foods that we eat if you live in North America? That's 20 to 70% of key nutrients that you're missing. So even if you eat and you say, well, I eat organic, you only get about 10 to 15% more nutrition if you eat organic. You're still lacking somewhere 20 to 50% of key nutrients. Do you think your body's going to know that it's not getting those nutrients? Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can say, well, then I'll just I'll supplement with vitamins. You can do that, but do you know which vitamins you should take with what? For example, what if you take zinc and iron together, not in the proper amounts? Did you know they'll cancel each other out? Or what if you take in vitamin B1 and then you don't have enough magnesium in your body? Do you know that vitamin B1 won't even be converted to its bioactive form that's needed by the body? It's like you would spend so much money on trying to buy these nutrients, isolating them. You got to understand, whenever you start isolating a nutrient, you lose some of the magic. Okay, nature knows what it's doing. When we eat an orange or we eat an apple or we eat broccoli, all the vitamins that you need are there in the right proportions. Okay, but that's if man hasn't tampered with it. If he hasn't done things to the soil that reduce the mineral and vitamin content that's being drawn up into the plants. Now we're missing those key nutrients. And so I'm going to tell you, I feel bad for us who live here in North America, because you really do have to source your food from other places. I'll tell you right now, I don't even eat white rice. I don't eat white rice. I don't eat white potatoes. What I eat, let me show you what I eat right here. So I've got, let me see if I can help you guys see this here. So this right here, this is called riceberry. This is riceberry rice. It's a superfood. It comes from Thailand. Okay, what they did is they crossbred white jasmine rice with black rice, and they wound up with this purple rice. It's a superfood. It's high in a lot of minerals. It's very low on the glycemic index, so that the payload of sugar when you eat this rice, if you're diabetic, guess what? You can have this. It's still it's a carbohydrate, so you still got to eat it in moderation. Okay, I'm not saying just make like a 10-gallon bowl of this stuff and go crazy. Don't do that. But and I usually do about a third of a complex carbohydrate. This falls into that category. This right here. It's called riceberry rice. You get it from Thailand. It's not grown here in North America. So that's what I'm saying. Whatever you do, you gotta source your food. We live in a modern world now. You can do it now. Okay? Yes, there are challenges. There's challenges. Let me just kind of adjust the screen so you guys can see it. There are challenges to getting these foods, but they can be done. Okay? It can be done. And you have to do it. You have to do it if you want to be healthy. If you want to be healthy, you want to avoid chronic diseases like high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, Crohn's disease, arthritis, all that stuff, inflammation. I don't have any of those problems. I'm 51 years old. All right? I'm 51 and I'm very healthy. Now, I'm not saying I haven't had my struggles. I've struggled with weight because there was a point where I didn't realize this about our food source here in North America, but a very good friend of mine, had actually helped me understand that. He wrote a bestseller. It's called Why Diets Are Failing Us. His name's Peter Greenlaw. Really good friend. And he helped me to understand that a lot of the foods here in North America are nutritionally deficient. And that's why when we start trying to go on these different diets, like calorie restrictions or intermittent fasting, they don't work. Now, when I say they don't work, I'm not saying that you won't lose weight. You will. But here's the problem. If you intermittent fast, do you realize that 20 to 40% of the weight that you lose when you do intermittent fasting is lean muscle mass? Now, how do we know that? Because they've done fat, blood, urine, and stool analysis, okay, with regard to people who intermittent fast. And that is what they have found. That's what they found, that 20 to 40% of your lean muscle mass is what is lost for most people who do intermittent fasting, and primarily people living in North America, because we're already undernourished. We're undernourished because there's a deficiency of nutrients in our foods that we eat, okay? So even if you're eating a whole plant-based food diet, it's still deficient. If you live in North America, you have to source your food from other places that aren't affected. This is why, had you ever heard of people who, like, for example, I'm not saying to do this, but like, for example, if you eat McDonald's here, but you go to other countries and eat McDonald's, and you'll notice that, or people have told me they've noticed a difference, like the food doesn't affect them the same way. Or like if you go to Europe and you eat bread there, people who have like allergies to gluten or other things don't experience those same allergies when they go to other countries. Why is that? Why is that? It's because of what their government allows. You got to understand, the governments over there pay for their citizens for their health. All right, the government covers the cost of health. Do you think the government is going to have them eat foods that are bad for them, that are going to make them sick, when they're the ones footing the bill? No. But in North America, who takes care of your medical expense? You do. And so for the almighty dollar, it makes sense for big commerce to sell cheap products filled with chemicals that are not going to contribute to your health. You have to be your own health advocate. You have to be, and this is why I started doing what I did, by researching and finding out what these foods are so that I can take care of myself, because I'm not going to rely on any government or any man outside my household to do that for me. I have to do that for myself and for my family, you see. And so this is what I want you guys to understand too. Source your food from other countries. Now, I also found a fulfillment company that allows me to be able to source some of these foods too. And I'll share that with you guys. But basically, these are foods that naturally detox the body. Okay, because again, if you live in North America, you need detoxing. You don't need to diet. You need to detox. And if you detox the body, the side benefit, which it's an important benefit, but it's a side benefit. Detoxing is what's most important. The side benefit is that you're going to lose weight, and you're going to lose weight fast. Because does anybody know, where does fat go when you lose it? Anybody know where fat goes when you lose it? 84% of it is gone through your breath. You breathe it out. CO2, carbon dioxide. So there's no reason for you to take months and months and months to lose fat. You could literally breathe it out. The other 16%, you urinate, or when you go to the bathroom, or when you sweat, or water vapor out of your mouth, as you breathe. But 84% of your fat is breathed out as CO2. CO2. And if you give your body the right foods, detox happens instantly. I tried this very same food protocol that I teach. In less than 2 weeks, I lost 12 pounds. I lost 12 pounds in less than 2 weeks. First 4 days I was on it, I lost 8 pounds. It wasn't water weight. And I retain my muscle because I used to intermittent fast. Now, the only type of fasting that I use is called intermittent nutritional fasting, because now I recognize that you still have to give your body some nutrients, and so what I do is I consume pure amino acids during intermittent nutritional fasting session. So I usually do like 2 days of this, right? And I'll eat foods that detox the body, and then I consume these pure amino acids. So for those of you who count calories, you're probably only getting about 500 calories a day, but it's nutritionally dense, the foods that I'm eating. So I don't experience hunger cravings. Like when you intermittent fast, like I used to do a 16-8, 16 hours I don't eat, and then I ate in an 8-hour window, okay? But what I found when I did that, I was so hungry. Like, I'd be wanting to eat everything, and then you're trying to eat your macros in the right proportion, but I would just want to eat big meals. And that's what I end up doing. And I noticed I've always been a rather muscular guy as far as my frame, but I noticed like over the years, like when I started hitting about 40 years old, man, like my gut area, like my stomach was starting, like it was becoming distended, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me, why? Because I'm pretty active and stuff. But it was because of these toxins that we ingest. The visceral fat around your organs is where your body stores these toxins. And so until I met my friend Peter, when I talked to him, I didn't make the connection, because then I started juicing and I did lose weight. But again, that gut area, it was a problem. And I didn't realize it was because I wasn't getting enough nutrients. And even with juicing, and I'm all for juicing. I mean, you can see my logo up here, Juicing for Mankind. Juicing's powerful. I mean, that'll detox the heck out of your body. But the thing that I realized, I stopped looking linear at my health, and I started looking holistically. Okay. So juicing is a tool, just like supplementation is a tool. I'm not against supplementation. I think, like, I take a methylated form of vitamin B, because about 40% of people in the world have a gene mutation that doesn't allow them to methylate vitamin B. Okay, folic acid, vitamin B9 to be specific. So, and methylated just means break it down into a form the body can use. Okay, so if you're supplementing with like folic acid, vitamin B, and let's say like you notice you got high blood pressure, you could fall into that category of where you have this gene mutation that doesn't allow you to metabolize vitamin B9. And so vitamin B9 keeps homocysteine in check. If your homocysteine is too high, that can raise your blood pressure. See, so understanding that, and I had some bouts with my blood pressure kind of going, up, and I couldn't put my finger on it. So I supplement with the vitamin B9 in a methylated form. It's a liquid form that I use, but I found that since starting this other food protocol regimen, that it's helped me to manage the blood pressure. My blood pressure shot, it was like 146/90. I was like, man, it's never been that high. I started eating foods this way, it dropped down to 121/79. 121/79. Here, I'll even show you. I took a picture of it to send to my sister, because let me see if you guys can see it here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It's so, Well, see, that's kind of backwards on here. That's 121. I know it looks like 151, but it's 121 because that's backwards over 79. See, so I got to figure out how to change the view on here so you guys can see it, in the correct way. But the point being is that I've never experienced in this short of amount of time how eating like this has brought about like such drastic changes. And I know if you guys are like me, I know you're looking for change to happen quick, right? I mean, who wants to go months and months and months? And mind you, I haven't even been exercising. Okay, I walk with my wife because she started back exercising, lifting weights, and she goes for walks, and so I walk with her. And I try and get like somewhere between like 10,000 miles or 10,000 miles, yeah, 10,000 steps a day. But on average, I've probably been getting more like 4 to 5. Okay, so it's not like I've been doing anything crazy. This is just eating the right way. But like I said, sourcing foods you have to almost get it from other countries. You can't. If you're just getting foods from here in North America, you're doing yourself a disfavor. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's the way big business has chosen to do things. And if you think that they don't control farmers here and dictate how things should be grown, you're fooling yourself. And it's sad, but nobody's going to look out for your health the way you are. And so you have to be your own health advocate. And so this is one of the ways that I try and give back to the community. Where I live, I'm set up to give some talks in the community to educate people about these things. Because it comes down to really 3 things as to why people, especially in North America, the Western diet, this is why we have obesity, why we have type 2 diabetes, and why we have high blood pressure. And the doctors can't tell you why. Like when I went and saw my doctor, he's like, yeah, I think I'm going to have to start putting you on a high blood pressure pill, because at that time it was like around 135 or something. And he said to keep monitoring it, but if it kept being high, he was going to. You think I was going on that medication? I'm not. It's the same with my cholesterol. He was saying that, my cholesterol, he said I was a high risk of cardiac event. I went and had a calcium heart scan, came back 1% out of 100. He said, oh, you're in the lowest percentile for men your age, so I'm not really worried about you having a cardiac event. And not that a calcium heart scan is the be all for heart health, because that's just telling you what has calcified inside your heart or your arteries. Okay. So if you have like soft plaque, it's not going to detect that, but it'll detect if you had some hardening of the arteries from soft plaque that got hard, okay, and left some residue behind, okay. But I only had like 1%. It was nothing to be concerned about at all. But he wanted to put me on a statin, and I told him, I said, you want to poison my liver just so my numbers can be in a range that you feel is acceptable? The way I look at it is say, Leah, the numbers don't lie, but they don't tell the whole truth either. Do you know how many centenarians there are who have high cholesterol? What is that telling you? Centenarians are people who are at least 100 years of age, and they've had high cholesterol. What does that tell you? Almost every system in your body needs cholesterol. So as far as I'm concerned, in all my research that I've done, the parameters that they set for cholesterol and where they feel they need to be is wrong. I'm just speaking for myself based on everything that I've researched, my health, how I feel, what I've my biomarkers, because when I went and got insurance, I had my biomarkers checked. All my organs are in good working condition. So I see no need to take a medication to simply make my numbers be in a spot the doctor feels is a good place so I can feel good. Well, my numbers are in the right spot, and then I walk out here and drop dead from because I've poisoned my liver. And I'll tell you this, once you start taking medication to manage a chronic disease, trust me, you're never going to get off medication. Do you think medicine actually solves the issues that you have? You name one person that was taking medication that it fixed their problem. They said, well, you know, Mr. So-and-so, I guess we'll be able to take you off of that now because it's fixed your problem. No. What happens is you end up being prescribed more medication to offset whatever problems that medication caused. So remember what Hippocrates said, let thy food be thy medicine and thy medicine be thy food. The only thing that's going to help you get off of that is you looking at your lifestyle and your diet. And then if you take those appropriate steps, you don't have to worry about taking those medications. Okay? So the point is that you're going to have to take something to address whatever issues you're having. Wouldn't you rather it be food? Something that you know is good for your body instead of something that was made in a lab by man, synthetic, and you don't know what it's doing to your body. It's creating all these issues, throwing your hormones off. Why not get back to nature? Why not do it the natural way? And food is powerful. I mean, look at when man first discovered medicine, it came from nutraceuticals. Do you know what a nutraceutical is? Those are plants or foods that have they have an effect on the body just like a pharmaceutical drug, but they're called nutraceuticals. It's like with aspirin. Native American used a bark from a tree that actually would help with pain and things of this sort. They discovered that was aspirin. And man just duplicated that. But a lot of your medications today are synthetic. Okay? And maybe they had a counterpart from the forests like the Amazon or the jungles where they would source this stuff, but you can't patent that stuff. See, and this is why these drug companies have to patent or come up with these synthetic types, because you can get a patent for that, and there's money that's involved with that. You see, so we got to understand, people, that if you're just trying to pop a pill or potion to fix a problem, that's not great for your body. Now, I'm not saying that in all cases you shouldn't take medication. Sometimes when you're faced with a drastic situation, situations require drastic measures, okay? But if you're trying to manage a chronic ailment by taking medication, it is not going to fix it. That's the point I'm making. Okay, so in the short term, if that's what you decide, you and your medical provider decide, hey, this is the best approach right now because we got to bring this down. You only as strong as your weakest link. So if that weak link is about to break, no, get the help you need to stabilize it. But then you better figure out after that, what are you going to do to fix this problem? Because that medication is not going to fix it. That's not a long-term solution. So that's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you guys, is we got to figure out a long-term solution for your health, for your well-being, your physical well-being. Okay? So this is what I'm talking about. So like, I know we started out talking about misconceptions about protein, but it's misconceptions about a lot of things that we've been told about our food. Some people kind of neigh and poo-poo juicing. Oh, you get too much sugar, you get too much this, and there's no fiber. See, don't listen to what you hear people parroting. I'm a certified juice therapist. You do get fiber when you juice. It's not insoluble fiber, it's soluble fiber. It's the fiber that can easily be broken down. Okay? And I'm not telling people to live off of juice. You use it like a tool, just like you use medication like a tool, or you use supplements as a tool, right? to help out in an area where you may be a little weak, or you need some assistance. So it is using it as a tool to facilitate and help the body do what it naturally wants to do. Okay? But juicing, the beautiful thing about that is that it concentrates all the nutrients in a small amount. In a 16-ounce of glass, I guarantee you, juice 5 pounds of carrots and drink a 16-ounce glass of juice, you will get more nutrients, vitamins, and minerals than most people get in a month. I guarantee you. And as far as the sugar is concerned, if you're diabetic, well don't juice the fruits. First of all, just so you know, and you can fact check me on this, half of the sugar in fruit is fructose. Fructose does not require insulin to enter your cells. Did you know that? 50% of the sugar in fruit is fructose. Does not require insulin to enter your cells. Now the other 50%, it does require insulin. That's glucose. Okay? So if you're diabetic, what I would tell you, if you're juicing, stay away from the sweet fruits. Okay? You're going to juice like fruits like lemons. Okay? They're very low in sugar. Okay? You're going to juice things like celery. You're going to juice, you can still have some fruits, but I would do it very sparingly. For example, get an apple, get a green apple, those Granny Smith apples, you know, those green ones, they're not very sweet. It's not the, like those, what do they call them? Apple crisp, I think it's called, or something like that. But anyway, they're not super sweet. You usually use them to make them like in pies and things, okay? But get a Granny Smith apple. It's a green apple. It's the lowest sugar content of the apples out there. Take a half of that apple and just add, just to sweeten it up just a little bit. And just so you know, with fruits, this is the beauty of our Creator who made fruits for us to eat. Inside of the apple is a phytonutrient called anthocyanin. Anthocyanin. Anthocyanin actually slows the absorption of sugar. Did you know that? Same way with grapes. Anthocyanin is present like in those dark red grapes that they use like for making wine and stuff. Anthocyanin actually slows the absorption of sugar. But here's the problem. If you juice, you can't drink like juice that, like, I'm not saying go and buy apple juice that's bottled in the store or grape juice, because you know the problem with that? They pasteurize it, which means that they boiled it, which destroyed all the phytonutrients, so what you wind up with is nothing but sugar. And that stuff is bad for you. Don't drink apple juice or grapefruit juice if you're trying to be well that's been processed and is sitting on a shelf in a plastic bottle. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about getting fresh produce and getting a slow masticating juicer and juicing that fruit yourself. So you get all the nutrients that come with it. The only thing you're not getting is the insoluble fiber. But you don't really need that at that time if you're using juicing as a modality or as a tool to fix a problem. Because the other thing you have to understand is this. If you're trying to help the body to detox, you want very little digestive action. In other words, you don't want to trigger your digestion, maybe just a little or not at all. Because the moment you trigger digestion, guess what? Maintenance of your body at a cellular level, it stops. You can only have two processes going on at the body at the same time. Your immune system, which is linked to when your digestion is activated, it notifies the immune system to be on high alert. Why? Because the easiest way for a pathogen to enter your body is how? When you're eating. Because you're putting things in your mouth that go directly into the body. You think your body doesn't know that? It's putting the body on high alert. Hey, you guys get ready. We're looking for, it's called leukocytosis, where the body actually starts producing white blood cells to fight possible invaders when you eat. And that happens when you eat, when you trigger digestion. So you can't have your defense system and your maintenance system operating at the same time in the body. It doesn't work that way. That's why it's usually not until you sleep that your maintenance system kicks in, and that's when the body naturally detoxes while you sleep. That's why they say you got to get your sleep in at least 8 hours, because that detoxing is so important to the body. Okay, so if you don't get your sleep, it doesn't detox. Your body won't detox properly. And then you wake up, you feel groggy, you feel bad. Why? Because toxins are still in your body. And this is why if you're relatively healthy, first thing you do when you get up, you should be going to the bathroom. Right? The body's eliminating. Okay, so that's a natural process that should be happening in the morning. You get up, you go to the bathroom, you have a good movement, you empty the tank, you're ready to start your day. See, and what I would recommend you do is on that empty stomach, then you want to juice. And it's not like you have to go hours and hours without eating. Just juice and wait 20 minutes. Let those nutrients get into the cells, because juicing will not trigger digestion. It's absorbed right into the bloodstream, all the phytonutrients. Okay, so you're not triggering digestion. So do that. Just wait 20 minutes before you eat. Okay, but then you want to start making sensible choices with your food. I don't know if we got any coffee drinkers in here, but I'm just gonna tell you, coffee is a blood restrictor. Okay, it causes the blood vessels to constrict. Okay, what I would say is learn to find something to substitute. Okay, not to mention if it's conventional coffee. Coffee is one of the most processed. They use the most herbicides, fungicides, pesticides on. Okay, coffee. Just look up the lifespan of those people who pick coffee beans that are sprayed with those chemicals. And people don't live very long. They absorb those chemicals through their skin, and end up getting, the big C. See, and then you're drinking that, not for me, not me. So I used to love coffee. I used to drink it all the time. I think that's what was contributing to my high blood pressure when I was going through that time period. But again, I'm just trying to help you guys understand that you don't have to have these chronic diseases. I'm not saying you're going to live forever. All right, we all going to have to meet our maker someday. But the point I'm making is this. You can live a nice quality life. You can live a quality life without the chronic diseases. How many times you hear about people who worked all their life and they retire and they die? I shouldn't say that on this algorithm, but so they kick the can. All right, so how many people does that happen to? They retire and then they get just a few years and then bye-bye. Right? You don't want that to be you. Don't you want to enjoy the fruits of your labor, all that work that you put in, and be able to go on a trip and enjoy without worried about all this medication you got to take with you, and be worried about what's the next major medical event that's going to happen in my life, or worried about who's going to take care of me if I get sick? Don't you want to be mobile? Don't you want to be healthy? I do. And I don't know about you, but now that I'm in my 50s, I'm like, when I was younger, it seemed like, man, I had forever. I look back now, I'm just like, man, where did the time go? Where did the time go? If I got terminally ill, I feel like I'm just beginning to live my life. And I've gained so much knowledge and expertise on things. It's like, no, man, it's just starting to get good. I'm not ready to close close this chapter. This book is getting good now. So So that's the point I'm just trying to make, you guys. I'm an educator. I'm a researcher. I'm a certified juice therapist. I'm recognized as a holistic health practitioner with the American Association of Drugless Practitioners. But I've taken these steps because I want to be healthy and I want to help other people experience the same thing. All right. So that's what I want for you guys. I want you guys to really think about what I'm saying, and just, it doesn't have to be anything major. Just start baby steps. Remember that the Chinese have a proverb. They say a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. That's it. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. Just take that first step. Take that first step and start implementing these things into your life. And then as you watch these changes happen, see how good you feel. Look at how excited you'll be when your yearly exam, your physical comes up, and you're not dreading that because hey, I know my numbers are good. I'm healthy. I'm feeling good. You're not worried about them finding something, wrong with you. And so it's going to start with you taking control of that and making good choices, good decisions. But you need the knowledge. You need somebody to point to, just like with me. You got to understand this, that nobody knows it all, okay? You have to learn from somebody, all right? And anybody who gets on here and make you think that they just, they knew all this and this was all don't matter. Any book you read, somebody else wrote that book. Any research you read about, somebody did that research for you. And so this is just knowledge that's being passed on from other people that you learn from. And so that's what I'm doing for you guys. And this is the quickest route to getting to where you want to be, is that you learn to learn from other people. See, don't reinvent the wheel. That's already been made. Just see, well, how could I improve upon this? You see what I'm saying? And so take knowledge. Now you got to be careful, because sometimes people put out information, not that they're trying to mislead you, but sometimes they're misinformed, or they may not have done their research, or maybe they only have half the truth. Like, for example, I'm gonna tell you something that I saw on TikTok here, that something, and it was another fellow juicer he was doing, but I was like, oh man, that's not good. So he was making these juices, all right, and beautiful, but like it was, he had the right stuff. It was lemon and he had some other stuff that helped with detox. And then he said, now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add some activated charcoal to this, and this is really gonna detox your body. No, it ain't. You know why? Activated charcoal is like a sponge. Yeah, it's a binder. You take it, like if you ingested poison or something, you could take activated charcoal and it would help to bind to whatever those poisons are, and then you expel it out of your system. Okay, you could do this for a dog. Say, like if a dog get a hold of chocolate, they're not supposed to eat chocolate, or stuff like that. You give them activated charcoal, you could save that dog's life. It'll bind to those poisons and stuff in their system and allow them to excrete it. The problem is that, let me see here. They're saying they detected a problem here. We have detected activity during your current live. Complete the verification. All right, sorry about that. They said they had detected inactivity during my live, so I hope I wasn't cutting out on you guys. But anyway, but the point I'm making is, the problem is that when you ingest activated charcoal, or if you put it into like a juice, it's going to absorb all the phytonutrients in that. Your body won't be able to absorb it because it all got absorbed into the activated charcoal. And then you drink that, all you did was drink a flavored binder. That's all you did. It's like drinking a flavored sponge. It's going to soak up everything that's in its path. So the thing is, if you're gonna do that, you take the activated charcoal like 2 hours before you ingest the juice, or 2 hours after you ingest the juice. That's how you do it. But you see how a little bit of information people might have, oh, this is a binder, I can add this to a juice and drink that, and that'll help accelerate the detox. It won't, because it's absorbing all the good stuff your body needs to detox, or to help support the body detox. All you did was just, like I said, drink a flavored binder. It'd be better if you drank it with bentonite, which is a type of clay that it acts like a magnet. So instead of just absorbing everything like a sponge, like the activated charcoal does, the bentonite acts like a magnet, and it actually attracts heavy metals. All right, but it's going to leave the other stuff alone. So that would be like a medium strength type of I shouldn't say medium strength, but what it's going to attract is going to leave alone half of the phytonutrients and things that are good for you, and the other half is going to absorb into it. So it's going to attract like heavy metals. There might be some good things that get bound with it and expelled, but it's not going to attract all of it like activated charcoal. Activated charcoal doesn't care. It's just going to absorb everything. Okay. And then the other thing is zeolite. Zeolite is a volcanic type of a substance, and it's almost like a cage, okay? And it only attracts heavy metals, and so it'll lock those in and allow all the nutrients, phytonutrients, to pass right through it like a filter, okay? So if you're gonna put something in or take something with a juice, do bentonite or zeolite. Don't do activated charcoal. It looks cool, it's like I've seen on the TikTok, this black drink, I juiced and I had activated charcoal. It's called black lemonade. It looks cute. It sounds cute. It's not doing what you think it's supposed to be doing. Okay. I'm a certified juice therapist. I'm not going to lead you wrong. I know what I'm talking about. Fact check me on it. Okay. You add activated charcoal to a juice. All you did was suck up all the nutrients into that activated charcoal. It's going to pass right through you. Okay, because it binds all those phytonutrients. So again, you got to understand, information that people are putting out there. It might look cute. It sounds cute, but it's not really doing the job for what you think it's supposed to be doing. And so what I like to do is just cut right through the chase. And let's focus on what's actually helping people. Okay, so I'm gonna be hopping off here pretty soon because I gotta go, but I wanted to hop on real quick to kind of talk about some of these misconceptions, like I said, about protein, understanding amino acid utilization and net amino acid utilization. They're two different things. So like I said, if you eat an egg, 48% of the protein in that egg is what you're getting when you eat it. Okay, so remember, the body can't absorb protein itself. It has to break it down into its amino acid, and the amino acids are what the body uses to build a protein molecule for your body to use. Okay. But from an egg, you only get 48% of that amino acids, those 9 essential amino acids. They're essential because you have to get them from food. You can't make them. Your body can make the other 11, but they can't make these 9. These have to be gotten from food. Okay, so only 48% come from an egg. Of that 48%, how much of that amino acids is used? Close to 100%, but not quite, 98%. Because you got to account for some loss, as it oxidizes and stuff like that. So that's why when people, because I was telling somebody about taking this amino acid shake that I take, which is, by the way, amino acid utilization is 91%. Okay, so you only lose about 9%. The 9% is what's converted to a waste products called urea, ammonia, and creatinine. Okay, those are waste products the body has to get rid of. So when you eat protein, if you eat a lot of protein, it can be hard on the kidneys and on the liver because it has to detox those waste products. Okay, so if you get the amino acid, you bypass the steps of having to break it down. Your body break down the protein that produces these waste products. It's like I said, the protein is like the shell on a nut. The amino acids is like the nut that's inside. That's what your body needs. We don't eat the whole nut if it's in a shell, right? We crack it open. We get the nut inside. We discard the shell. That's what your body does with protein. Cracks it open. It discards the stuff it doesn't need and accesses the amino acids. Okay, but sometimes with these numbers, people play around because someone's like, oh, well, 91%. Yeah, but eggs is 98%. No, that's the net amino acid utilization. That's how much of the amino acids after you've absorbed the amino acid utilization, which is different. That's the AU. This is the NAU. Net amino acid utilization. They're two different things. So it's just telling you what percentage of what was absorbed was used by the body. Does that make sense, guys? So you absorb 48% of the amino acids from the egg, right, to make protein. That's less than 50%, okay? Now, of that 50%, how much does your body use? 98% of it. See, it's a different percentage. It's referencing something different. And so people look at that and say, oh, well, I just eat eggs then because I get 98%. Oh, you're missing the point, man. 48% is what you've got. Now, of that 48%, your body's using 98%. Does that make sense, guys? Follow me. Come on back. We're going to do another live. We'll talk about some more great tips for you. I try and do these. I'm trying to do them more regular. I just got the offer to be able to go live because my content was it was what do you call resonating, I guess, with some large audiences, and so TikTok gave me the chance to be able to do some live. So I've been trying to use that to as a platform to kind of help get this out here. But yeah, just go check out my TikTok page because I got some other stuff in there, and I talk about, like earlier I mentioned about like the quaternary compounds that are in the like dish soaps that we use and the dishwasher. I got a recipe on there where you can make your own, and it's pretty simple. But I'm telling you guys, man, we got to get away from relying on big businesses to provide everything for us, and we got to kind of get back to basics. Is it a little bit more work? Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a little more work to, make your own powdered dishwasher soap, or or look for dishwashing soaps that aren't, gonna be harmful to your health. But you gotta do these things because it's all these little things that are adding up that assault our bodies daily, and it's too much for our bodies to handle. Remember that movie, Karate Kid? Remember, I'm talking about the original with Danielson, because I'm dating myself. So, but remember, he told that teacher when he went with Danielson, he's like, hey, why don't we spar it out? And he was like, look, 1-to-1 problem, no problem. 5-to-1 problem, big problem. It's the numbers, right? See, he was dealing with, he had all those guys trying to fight him, man. He couldn't deal with that. Mr. Miyagi told him that. It's 1-on-1, ain't no problem. But 5-to-1, that's a big problem. And that's kind of what we're dealing with here in North America. We have a 5-to-1 problem. And our bodies are just being assaulted from every angle. Help your body out. To take the steps you need to help you be strong and healthy. You're going to get old. That's a fact of life. Okay, we're going to get old. But you can age gracefully. You don't have to be sick. You don't have to be sick. All right? I'm telling you, we dig our graves with our teeth, meaning what we eat, right, is going to put us under. So make good decisions. I'm here to help you guys, man. I'm not all knowing. I have people that I follow and I learn from too, you know. I'm going to tell you one guy I really like is Herb Gotti. Man, knowledgeable herbalist. He's a what they call phyto. What do you say he was? A phytophysical medical. It was something like that. I'd have to look at it again, but knowledgeable guy. You know, but you never stop learning. Remember, knowledge is weightless. You can always take it with you. Okay, so don't be afraid to learn. Keep your minds open, and you know, this is a great platform. Like, I know some people knock it. You know, it's like, oh, you know, University of TikTok, man, is where I learned this from. No, I'm telling you, it's a platform where people are sharing knowledge. Yeah, you still got to know something, because you got to know when people are putting out information. I'm not saying they're doing it on purpose. It's just sometimes people mean well, but they just don't know, because it's something that they heard and they didn't really research it. See, I'm not that way. The devil's in the details. Okay, so when I hear something, I always fact check it and I research it to make sure. Hey, you got to make sure that this is on point. Okay, and that this is the real deal. So I want you guys to, you know, come on back, man, when I do another live, and let's talk. Behind me, in case you was wondering, this is it's a picture of Tibet. And the reason why I had this picture up here is this is one of the places where I source my foods from. In fact, I think it's like two out of the 5 foods that I take come from Tibet and Mongolia, in this area, from the Himalayas. And powerful stuff. Strongly supports the body in detoxing. If you're trying to lose weight, trying to lose, especially like that gut, man, this stuff is powerful. But I'm going to talk to you guys about this. I don't have time now, because I got to hop off. I got to go be at work at a little bit later here. So, but I got to get me something to eat here before I do that. So, but hey, I want to thank all you guys for joining me on live here, man. Let's keep this up. All right, let's meet together. And let's talk, because I'm all about sharing knowledge. And if there's anything that you see or that you hear that you want to, like, maybe have me discuss or address, then just let me know. You can DM me, and I'll make sure I include it in my next live, okay? If you guys got questions about anything. And like I said, you know, I'm learning too. I don't claim to know it all. I always say a know-it-all is a person that knows more and more about less and less until they know everything about nothing. So don't ever be a know-it-all. Always keep your mind open. Always willing to learn. That's how I've gained so much knowledge myself. I didn't take just a linear approach thinking, oh, it is the only way. It's not the only way. It usually includes many different modalities, bringing them all together as a whole, and then holistically, right? And then you start seeing results. So you guys, thanks again for joining me, and you know, I'll see you on the next live here. All right, you guys take care.